we really felt this in Germany, that this 16-year-old girl hit the streets and started going on strike and protesting that nobody's taking climate action, and hundreds of thousands of children in Germany followed and took to the streets. And that was when it changed for us. That was in 2018 when she started. It completely changed the business because it brought this awareness to everybody because of the children taking to the streets. It went into the media. Investors were getting more serious about it. And now actually companies are taking it really seriously.
How did Greta Thunberg inspire climate action around the world? Stay tuned to know more about the story of how businesses have become more climate action oriented in recent years. Hello and a warm welcome to this episode of Mission Shunya podcast. Hope you are well and fully charged up to listen to yet another interesting conversation. I know that every new episode means a few more listeners who are tuning into the show for the first time. If you happen to be one among them, welcome to the podcast and thanks for giving this idea of zero carbon economy a try. If at the end of this episode you like the content, I encourage you to check the other 59 episodes on the playlist, and I am sure you'll not be disappointed. If you have any feedback, I am just an email away. missionshunya@gmail.com is the ID. You can also follow Mission Shunya across the social media channels. Now on to this week's feature segment. Climate action is the need of the hour. Every positive action aimed at a sustainability transformation counts, be it for countries, companies, or citizens. Today, we cover the journey of a company from being a startup to an MNC that is helping other companies offset emissions and contribute to climate action. Who's our guest for today? And how did he shift gears in career and move into his current role with an intent to create an impact?
My name is Tristan Forster, and I'm the founder and CEO of Climate Partner. I've been in the business of consulting companies for quite some years, and 15 years ago, I decided to move from the general consulting side into taking climate action and helping other businesses to on their way to becoming net zero, hopefully by the end of 2050 at the latest.
Tristan, now let's begin by looking at Climate Partner's journey. I mean, a decade earlier, you were kind of a startup and you were just looking to start and offer solutions in carbon offsets, and you got started with that. But the journey has been phenomenal, and you've been in the business for more than a decade now. So what's the story been like?
It's a very roller coastery ride until now, I must honestly admit. We started 15 years ago, imagine, with Climate Partner. We always had the aim to help other businesses take climate action and help them on their journey to get to what they want to do while doing something good for the climate. And it's actually started out as a consulting business, if you want to say.
Okay.
My best friend Moritz and I, when we founded the company, we had talked once to the German Postal Service. It was one of the big companies that wanted to take climate action somehow. And we suggested to them, why don't you send your packages and your letters carbon neutrally? So you can calculate the carbon footprint of sending a letter or a package or a parcel, and then you can offset those emissions by investing in carbon offset projects. And they said, oh, that sounds like a great idea, but we don't need you for that. We're going to do that on our own. So they kind of kicked us out of the door. Spoiler alert, in the meantime, they're a large customer of ours.
Okay.
So we've come back together. But in that point in time, 15 years ago, we said, oh, that sounds interesting. If they find it interesting, I'm sure that other companies find it interesting too, to be able to take climate action in a similar way. And that's when we founded Climate Partner, so that we could do that, because we thought, well, companies can take climate action, which is a benefit for them. It's a benefit for the consumer that gets a product that is potentially carbon neutral. It's good for the climate, and it's good if hopefully we can make this business to work for us. So it's kind of a four-way win situation. That was what we thought at that time.
Nice.
Yeah, and The funny thing was, you would not guess what our first core industry turned out to be. I think if we would lock 100 smart people in a room and ask them which industry needs to take climate action, you would not come up with this industry. It was the printing industry.
Wow.
Imagine. So
True.
yeah. Well, it's printing industries printing, letters on paper in the end. So it's not a very complex industry, but and we're talking really about print products like magazines and brochures and things like that. And we had a friend had an agency, like a marketing agency. He says, I know a lot of printing companies, and they're all having real tough time to survive right now because it's a very strong competition. Digitalization is coming up, and all they're selling is a commodity. So it's like you're only competing by price because you always have to meet the necessary quality, right?
Correct.
So they said, do you have a solution for the printing industry for them to do something? Maybe we could try that. And we said, well, since we're very early in the business, that was, like I said, 15 years ago, and nobody really knew what to do when taking climate action. We said, well, let's try it. So we built a calculator to calculate the carbon footprint of a printing business, and a second calculator to calculate the carbon footprint of a print product like a brochure. And once you did that, you could offset that with carbon offset projects, and then you would have a carbon neutral print product. And we developed the label so that you could put this label onto the print product that said it's a carbon neutral print product. And we said, let's try it out. And imagine it really worked out.
Nice.
Because we noticed then, or noticed maybe later, that we created a market. Because on the one hand side, the printing companies finally had an additional quality topic they could sell as well, and they would just pass the price on. They didn't even have to price it in. They just would say, okay, this costs you 1% extra of the print product that you're buying. And the print buyers were like medium-sized companies, larger corporations that wanted to underline their sustainability activities that they're doing. So imagine you're printing the brochure of an electric vehicle. It of course makes total sense that this is printed carbon neutrally, right?
Correct.
So and then we had a market, and all of a sudden it worked. And we then a few months later had maybe 100 printing companies that we were working with, and then we said, oh wow, we can't take this Excel table and with our computers and drive to every print shop anymore now. So we started developing software as a service around this, so that you in the cloud, so that you can actually do the same thing with the Excel that you can do it in the cloud. So in the meantime, we have the software as a solution to carbon footprint whole businesses, no matter what size, or any kind of product within the software. So you can calculate this footprint, and then you can also offset the footprint within the platform of this software. So and generate a label automatically that your product is carbon neutral. And that's kind of how we developed. And coming from the printing companies, then we developed into working for the packaging companies, which is very similar. And from packaging companies, then into consumer goods, logistics, and then literally anything at all, actually. So now we're working with, let's say, more than 3,500 business customers all across the globe, many in more than 35 countries. But it was a very, very long and bumpy ride. I always say to people, because often we get asked, "Are you a nonprofit company?" And we always say, "No, we're a regular business because we want to lead the company like business people because we believe it's more efficient." But to be honest, 9 years long, we were an involuntary nonprofit company.
Okay.
So it took us a really long ramp up time to get Climate Partner into the profitable area. And the reason why people then asked what changed, because we had this market in the printing area. We kind of made it in Germany. That's where we're from. Founded in Munich, in Germany. In Germany, all of a sudden it became a normal request for any printing company that they can print carbon neutrally, but it never really picked up then. And where's this next market that we need to find so that it really works? And a lot of companies didn't want to really take climate action for a long time. They didn't think it was a necessary topic, and there's two things that kind of triggered a change here, especially in the European market. So the European legislation brought out a law that required very large companies, so like the size of for large financial institutions and the like, to publish non-financial reporting. So next to their regular reporting, they have to publish things like a sustainability report, for example, and deliver data on this. And they were really proud that they were doing this, especially also in Germany. They were proud of, finally, there's a law that you need to take sustainability seriously. The funny thing was those businesses that were now required to do this non-financial reporting, they'd been doing sustainability reports for 10 years already. So I always thought it's not going to change anything because those companies are already doing it. But I was wrong, because these large corporations now realized that this non-financial reporting is also a valuation topic. It's also investors are now really reviewing these non-financial reports. And then they said, oh, if they're doing that, then we have to be even more serious about it. And if we want to know the carbon footprint of our business, we can't just look at our own business that we're doing, our own value added. We have to look at what are the products that we're actually procuring, that we're actually buying. So we have to talk to our suppliers. And so the large corporations started to request from their suppliers that they had to do non-financial reporting as well. And typically in European countries, there's many suppliers are like mid-sized companies, and they said, "Oh my gosh, what is a carbon footprint? How do I do that? How do I get there?" And that's when all of a sudden our sales activities turned profitable, because they turned to us to support them in doing exactly that. And that was 6 years ago. And that's when we started from a very rocky phase at the beginning, roller coaster ride, always having to see how we turn, or we did not have to close the company. It turned into a nice, easygoing, nicely growing, but not fantastically growing business for another 2 or 3 years. And then in 2018, I don't know if how much you actually got the sense of this in India, but maybe you've heard of Greta Thunberg.
Yes.
Which is a 16-year-old Swedish girl. You've heard, I'm sure you have.
I'm sure it's a big sensation all over the world.
Yes. And that, I mean, we really felt this in Germany, that this 16-year-old girl hit the streets and started going on strike and protesting that nobody's taking climate action, and hundreds of thousands of children in Germany followed and took to the streets. And that was when it changed for us. That was in 2018 when she started. It completely changed the business because it brought this awareness to everybody, because of the children taking to the streets. It went into the media. Investors were getting more serious about it. And now actually companies are taking it really seriously. And now they want to know what to do. And that's when our business started to really explode. So now we're in a phase of real massive scaling. We were, let's say, at the beginning of last year, we were around 50 people. Now we're hitting 250.
Wonderful.
So it's still for large consulting companies or so, it's still small, but for us, of course, a huge growth rate that we're allowed to go through. And we have to show that we can scale this. And I have a nice little story for you to show how it feels a little bit, or what the difference was.
Yes.
I remember about, what was it? I think 5 years ago, I was invited to a trade fair, and I was supposed to hold a speech there about taking climate action for businesses, right? And is a trade fair in London, and I went there, and you won't believe it, Girish, there were 4 people there that came to see it. And the one person was the camera person, the other person was the organizer, and the 2 other people were 2 tourists that wanted to rest their feet. So you see, there was no interest whatsoever, but I I pulled it through anyway, and I said, okay, this I since I'm here, I'll hold the speech. Maybe somebody hears something. And in 2019, that was like a year after Greta hit the streets with her Fridays for Future movement. I was invited by a friend of mine who hosts one of the largest e-commerce conferences in Europe, and the whole conference was, I think, around 3,000 people.
Okay.
And he said, why don't you hold a speech here? You get a whole hour, you get a master class, and you get a room for 50 people. And you could tell them about how to take climate action. And I said, oh gosh, what if the same thing happens again, and 4 people turn up? And it didn't, because they closed the doors after 70 people were inside, and said nothing else goes. You have to stay out the rest. So all of a sudden the room was filled with 70 people. So 20 more than were allowed, and I held the speech, and everybody was listening, and then everybody's interested. I said, "Wow, this is a real game changer!" And at the end, a guy, he put up his hand and says, "Tristan, do you know why I'm here? I want to share this with everybody." And I said, "Okay, please do. I would be really interested to know." And in the room, those 70 people were all really management board people and entrepreneurs, so real decision makers, right? And he said, well, I was sitting at the dinner table last week on Thursday, amongst others, with my 13-year-old daughter, and she said, Daddy, I'm going on strike tomorrow. And I said, young lady, no, you're going to school, you're not going on strike. And then this 13-year-old girl got up and told her daddy off for a half an hour straight. And then her daddy said, well, okay, you convinced me. You go on strike, and I'll go listen to that speech from Climate Partner next week. And that's when I realized it's who was sitting in the room. It was parents. The room was full of parents.
The right audience.
Yes. And so, Girish, really the children really changed the world here for taking climate action. And so that's a really nice thing to see and to hear, but it also, for me, changed our business dramatically.
Tristan, that's a wonderful little story towards the end. And especially, like you mentioned, it has gone unnoticed, or rather for different parts of the world, it's gone unnoticed, the kind of impact that Greta and the climate action movement has got ever since she took to streets.
Yes.
And as you said, if businesses are turning more serious about this and look at it from a personal perspective also, that the future generation is going to be impacted, so I'll have to stand up to this and I'll have to take action. It's at the personal front also that's driving them to do something like this. So that's really wonderful. And it's great to know that as a result of all the climate action that's happening around Germany and different parts of the world, your business is actually improving. So I'm sure even after the post-COVID recovery, your business will continue to grow, because a lot more people want to be part of this, because they don't want to be stuck in another pandemic because they didn't act on climate change.
Absolutely, Girish. We were seeing this. It was even during the COVID pandemic, when it struck at the beginning, a little more than a year ago, we thought, oh, what's going to happen for our business? Because typically you would think taking climate action is not the first thing you would do if you think that your business is going out of business, right?
Correct.
You will take other actions, and interestingly enough, it was not the case. So it was like a short breather that it's where things stopped because businesses were insecure. But then all of a sudden it really took up speed again. And we really grew strongly during the pandemic, because exactly what you're saying, I think a lot of companies realized, oh, we can't go on like this. And I heard this one saying that the pandemic is very similar to a climate crisis, only that the climate crisis is much more dangerous. It has, everybody has to work together. It's affecting everybody across the globe, and we all have to find a solution together. And the pandemic, the beginning was dangerous for our grandparents, and a climate change is dangerous for our grandchildren.
Exactly.
So companies are really, really realizing this, and we had the greatest luck that just shortly before the pandemic started, we convinced consumer goods companies and retailers food retailers especially, to work with us. And that is, of course, those are goods that were actually growing and more demanded for during the pandemic. So that's also a reason why we were very lucky to have placed our bets on the right industry here.
That's very good to know that you placed the bets on the right industry. And as a player who's developed the platform even before that, I mean, you are well positioned to attract new customers in this space. Now, looking at the solutions that you offer, you did mention about carbon footprinting, the labeling, and other things that you do, and the software as a service platform. So, what are the other solutions that you offer in line with this? You deal with the supply chain as well. So, what are the other services that you offer?
So, if you look at what we do at Climate Partners, actually 5 simple steps that you would take as a business, and that's where the services that we offer all come into action. The step number 1 is like you said, is the carbon footprinting that we do through the software. That we always start with the business itself. So how do I carbon footprint a business, be it a small one or a global one? How many carbon emissions do I actually emit in the course of the year? Step 2 is then how do I break this down to my products? So how many carbon emissions do I emit by producing a product or delivering a service? And once you know these 2 things, you can take step 3, and that's the big, long, and difficult journey, is how do I reduce and avoid the carbon emissions that are being caused by producing things? Because there you have to really rethink your business. You have to thinking of a circular economy, thinking of recycling materials, of upcycling materials, of reducing waste, reducing materials, redesigning your products, things like that. So that's where we have lots of tools that we offer around that, and including consulting and also software measurement tools and simulation tools. So that's step 3. Step 4 is that where we develop our own carbon offset projects so that the emissions you cannot reduce and avoid can be offset with these carbon offset projects. And there we are developing projects all across the world, mostly in the southern hemisphere. So we have projects in India where we support, for example, producing green energy instead of producing energy from burning fossil fuels, or making sure that we are protecting forests that are rainforests in South America, and growing these biodiversity systems to really capture carbon. And we are moving more and more into the area of also developing these carbon offset projects directly for our customers that want to have their own carbon offset projects. So that's the carbon offset part of things where we have services. And then in the end, it's about communication, because you have to tell your stakeholders as a business, what are you doing to take climate action? How did you measure your footprint? How am I reducing my emissions? Which carbon offset project are we supporting? And that's where we developed a labeling system that it exactly shows you this on each and every label, with a tracking system behind it. It's probably the most transparent sustainability label out there. And we also support then in communications on websites and so on. The service that you were talking about within the supply chain is in the end that you as a business often are at the end of a supply chain, and to know your own carbon footprint really well, you need to know the carbon footprint of your suppliers. So we also offer a service, also supported by software, to carbon footprint your suppliers' business, so that you actually know how many carbon emissions you are actually buying into when you're procuring your products. That's about a sum up of what we are offering at Climate Partner.
Communication, as you said, is a very key element in this, because everyone definitely has a bit of suspicion and everyone has a bit of doubt when someone claims their product is carbon neutral. So everyone's looking at how do I know it's really carbon neutral? I think it goes back to the similar kind of analogy we had where ethically sourced products, everyone had their own doubts, how do you say this is an ethically sourced product? So I think today it's turned out to be, how do you sure that carbon offset is done?
Yes.
And that is really key. Are you looking at any technologies that you implement in addition to whatever you have? I see that people saying blockchain is one that could come up to ensure that there is traceability in the entire value chain and things like that. Are you looking at any such technology?
Yes, well, we're looking at the technology, or let's say we're not looking into it, but we're observing what's happening in the market. The thing is that in the meantime, the way the system of carbon offset projects and the security around it has been set up in a quite clever way. So we only source carbon offset projects that have been certified by certain international standards, for like the Verra standard or the gold standard. And how does this work? It's the case that you have NGOs like the gold standard or the Verra standard. They define the rules of how a carbon offset project must work and how to calculate the carbon emissions of those kind of projects and how often it has to be controlled and so on. So they define the rules. Then you have every an independent third party coming in, actually calculating the truly saved carbon emissions by such a product. By such a project, sorry. And those carbon emissions that are then documented by an independent third party, those are like the big four companies like PwC, Ernst & Young, EY, and they document this. And only when you have this documentation, then you can really actually generate a certificate on this. And this is what can be traded. So you have very many checks and balances along the way that actually secure the quality of these projects. And then in the end, it's these certificates are noted down in a central database system, and in order to when this offset has taken place of a carbon footprint, those certificates are actually retired from these marketplaces. So in my opinion, they don't change hands much, right? The carbon offset certificates typically they come from the project developer, goes into the market, and then we for us we buy them and we attribute them to one of our customers' products so that it's carbon neutral. That's why I think blockchain does the same thing, but it doesn't do it in a much better way. You see, so blockchain is always great as a ledger to have, or if you have goods changing hands several times. But in the carbon environment, you have to retire the certificates once they're used straight away, right? So it actually works quite well already. I think what is interesting to look at in technology-wise is to see how can you more easily calculate, more clearly and more easily calculate the real savings of these carbon offset projects carbon-wise. I think there's a lot to be done, or that can be done there, so that you're even more secure, because these calculations that are done at the moment are extremely conservative. So typically, I would say there's more carbon saved than actually comes out in the end. And if you could be able to measure this more clearly and closely, that would be a lot of help.
I like the idea where your intent is to keep the transaction very simple, not really complicated, just because you have a technology to do so. And like as you rightly mentioned, the entire process is kind of straightforward if you have checks and balances already in place, and if it's being validated by third-party agencies, the entire transaction should be good. That brings me to my next question, because considering the steps involved and the processes involved, the checks and balances, how easy is it for a company to get started with this? Do you have any restriction in like the size of a company? How big a company can get started with this transition?
So that's something, Girish, we're very proud of. We have the 3,500 customers that we have. They come from all walks and sizes of businesses.
Okay.
We talked about the printing industry before. We have 3-person printing companies all the way up to the largest printing companies in the world that we work together with. We work with, let me think, an orthodontist in the Netherlands, all the way up to the World Bank.
Nice.
And we work with, let's say, famous consumer goods producers, also all the way up to the largest consumer goods producers in the world and retailers. But we also have like the little stand at the Oktoberfest even that sells sweets that wants to work together with us. It's really a broad bandwidth, and it's really easy to get started with taking climate action because we've developed the software as a service around it. So you can get started very quickly, and you can be done very quickly as well. Even if you're a medium-sized company, we typically say to carbon footprint, a medium-sized business will take you around 6 to 8 weeks, and then you're through with it. And then you can really start to know your footprint and take climate action in reducing your carbon footprint. Because first step is always to get started to calculate your carbon footprint, because what you can measure, you can then actually effectively change.
Yes, that's like a good principle to have. What can be measured can actually be acted upon. So that's a good point to do. Now, in terms of the projects that you said, you get started 6 to 8 weeks and then you can go forward with that. But customers would definitely want to come back, and there is a retention model also that is there in your system, right? So is it only for the big players, or if someone changes the processes, they come back and then again get it validated?
Yes, typically it's the case that you carbon footprint your business once a year, because you always look at the past year and see how many carbon emissions you've caused, right? So it's a recurring model. Once you get started in taking climate action, you have to measure your carbon footprint year on year, so that you can really see if you have the progress there or not. And that's where the retention model from our business kicks in, where we say the beginning we have kind of like a setup fee, help to onboard the customer, and as the customers move on and have done it a few times, they can do it all on their own. So it's like a yearly service fee to use our software, and then whatever you want to take climate action where we can help in, we're really happy to help, and that is more like project by project wise. So typically, we have a very high retention rate of customers, because once they start taking climate action, they usually continue. I'm not aware of a business actually not continuing to take climate action, which is a nice thing, of course.
That's really wonderful. That's really good to know. And that perfectly leads me to my next question. Like, we speak about businesses, but as someone who's listened to this conversation, or someone who out of enthusiasm would have asked the same question, I'm sure, at a conference in the last couple of years at least. As an individual, what can they do? What is the best can an individual do apart from buying products from companies that are ethically sourcing or buying it from carbon neutral sources? What can an individual do? Do you have any solutions for them?
Yes, we actually now set up what we call the Climate Partner Foundation, which is actually a nonprofit company or business, not business, nonprofit organization. We call it Climate Partner U. You can find it under u.climatepartner.com.
Okay.
And there you can actually calculate your own carbon footprint as an individual or as a family or as a household, and see what's my personal carbon footprint in the course of a year. And they're the same principle, actually. You can measure your carbon footprint, and then you can think about, oh, where does my carbon footprint actually come from? Is it more from travel? Is it from commuting to work? Is it from consumption? Is it from my food, my eating habits? Because the more meat you eat, the higher your carbon footprint, for example. The more you consume, of course, also the higher is your carbon footprint. And the more you travel by car or even fly by plane, of course, your carbon footprint will be higher. And then you could start to reflect upon this and see, what can I do? Maybe I'll try to get to work more often on my bike instead of using public transport, for example. So this is something interesting to have a look at as well, and also to compare your carbon footprint to let's say the average carbon footprint of somebody living in your country. We haven't set it up in the basis for India yet, but I think it's set up for Germany for now.
Okay.
But that really doesn't make a difference. You can do it in English, and the carbon footprint that you measure for yourself will that's what it is.
No, I'm also looking at a way where people say, like, okay, if that's my carbon footprint, can I put, say, 20 euros in some project and say, like, I offset some of my carbon footprint?
Yes, you can do that. That we offer as well. Of course, it's the same principle with the businesses. Measure your carbon footprint, reduce it, and whatever is not reduced to zero, you can offset this. And you can also say, hey, I don't want to offset my whole year's carbon footprint, but like you said, maybe take 20 euros and just take a climate action contribution, or let's say you're going to be you have to take a flight, and then you say, okay, I'll offset this flight specifically with a carbon offset project. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that is good to have as an option, but I would personally encourage, I'm sure even you do, that people should try to reduce their carbon footprint. So that's really good to know about that. Tristan, now on a final note, you did mention about how the business scaled up, how you have grown over the last decade, and what are the kind of support that you offer. The entire business is kind of inclined towards policies. Policies have a huge role in this. And as you said earlier, the European deal earlier in the decade was a big factor that contributed to companies being more aware of what needs to be done. So where do you see policies shaping up in the next few years, and how is your business going to address them?
I think what is important about policy, and that's it's one of the reasons why we founded Climate Partner in the first place. Is we want to enable businesses and individuals to take action independent of policies, because policy is often slow. But it's been picking up in the past.
I should also mention about the new EU Green Deal.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So it's now finally working, and we're really happy that policymakers are realizing that without really having a clear path to getting to net zero as a business or as a world economy by the latest by 2050, we will not reach our global goals of restricting global warming to under 2 degrees Celsius. So we have to take action in the end. And there's something really interesting that happened in Germany. I don't know if it made the news with you, but we as a country, the policymakers as a country, they set up a legislation to reduce their carbon footprint by 2030 by it was 55%. And the highest court in Germany said this is illegal, this decision, because it means that the most effort to reduce the carbon footprint to zero after 2030 is being put on generations, on later generations' shoulders, and that cannot be. That we have to distribute this burden evenly. So they actually forced legislation, the courts forced legislation to raise the bar and say we're reducing our carbon footprint by 2030 by 60%. So this is something really interesting to see what's happening. And I think it's extremely important because you see also legislation forcing large corporations to commit to more climate action. And I'm really happy to see this is happening because this proves the efforts are going in the right way.
Yes, that's a good note because, as you rightly said, legislations are happening and courts are ruling in against companies who are not adhering to climate policy. So that is another step that's happening. So as you rightly said, everything that's happening is happening in the right spirit, and it's happening at the right time for a company like yours and for everyone in general, because it's going to make the planet better. It was very insightful to get you on the podcast today and know more about what Climate Partner does and what are the solutions that you offer, and interesting stories from your end. So thank you very much for joining me on the podcast and sharing the story.
Thank you very much, Yildiz. I was very happy to be here and I'm happy to have your interest in my story, in our story.
That was yet another interesting story of a company creating impact in enabling climate action. It was a good journey from the first move in helping printing companies and then enabling more businesses to act on their climate targets. As Tristan mentioned, the volume of business is increasing globally, and it is very heartening to note that climate activism led by Greta and other school students is helping this in a big way. In short, Climate Partner follows a 5-step process. The 5-step process that they follow guides customers towards climate action. Another interesting point is around transparency, which is a key factor in focus for Climate Partner, and their Climate Partner ID is one metric to track the end-to-end solution delivery. And towards the end, we also had a good action item. So if you want to check your carbon footprint and know how you can reduce or offset your emissions, go take a test at u.climatepartner.com. The link, as usual, will be in the show notes section and on the website missionjunior.com. But if you are a business and you would like to scale up your climate action and be very ambitious, climatepartner.com is the reference to connect with Tristan and team. So on that note, it's time to end this episode. I will be back in 2 weeks' time. This is Girish Shivakumar signing off, and as always,